You've seen it. That guy in the meeting who knows almost nothing, but speaks like he's the CEO of the universe. And somehow, people listen. They nod. They follow. Meanwhile, the quiet one in the corner, the one who actually knows what's going on, stays silent, second-guessing every word. This isn't just workplace irony. It's a psychological trap, a mind glitch baked into how humans perceive authority, the Dunning-Kruger effect. Here's the brutal truth. If you're thoughtful, self-aware, and prone to reflection, you're probably already at a disadvantage in the power game, because power doesn't reward nuance, it rewards projection. While you're wondering if you're ready, the fool is already halfway up the ladder, selling certainty like it's candy. If you enjoy this type of video, remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Incompetent people rise not despite their ignorance, but because of it. They walk into rooms full of complexity and reduce it to sound bites, and we eat it up. Why? Because confidence, not competence, is what triggers our trust instinct. In primitive times, that made sense. Follow the loudest, the boldest, probably the strongest. But in a modern world, that instinct misfires. We're seduced by assertiveness, even when it's empty. This illusion of confidence is why so many smart, capable people stay stuck. You've been taught to know your limits. They were taught to ignore them. You double-check, they double down. You question, they declare. But here's the danger. If you don't start owning your voice, someone dumber and louder will do it for you, and they'll drag others with them. Confidence is no longer optional. It's your weapon, not the fake, arrogant kind, but the grounded, unshakable kind that comes from knowing your worth and choosing to show it anyway. Because if you don't learn how to speak with conviction, you'll keep watching the wrong people rise, while you, the real one, stay invisible. Ever noticed how some people get promoted not because they deliver results, but because they look the part? Clean speech, sharp clothes, confident handshake, zero depth. But damn, do they look like they belong? That's not an accident. That's strategy. And Niccolò Machiavelli saw it coming centuries ago. In The Prince, he wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." He wasn't being poetic. He was being surgical. Power doesn't care about your truth. It cares about perception. In a world flooded with noise, style hijacks substance. And the ones who master that illusion, they rise. Here's the game most people don't even know they're playing. It's not about being the best. It's about being seen as the best. And often, the most thoughtful people lose because they think results speak for themselves. Newsflash, they don't. Results don't walk into rooms. People do. And if you don't carry the presence, the posture, the clarity, someone else will take your credit and your space. Those who seem competent are often just great performers. They speak with absolute certainty, even when they're dead wrong. They use confident language, polished delivery, and just enough buzzwords to look like experts. But behind the curtain, it's all theater. And let's be honest, that pisses you off, doesn't it? Watching a human PowerPoint presentation get rewarded while you're grinding in silence. But here's your moment of choice. Complain about the unfairness, or adapt. Because you don't have to become fake, but you do have to become visible. Start here. Next time you speak, stop apologizing for your ideas. Don't soften them. Don't shrink them. Deliver your message like it matters, because it does, especially in a world where the loudest wins, even when they're wrong. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. Mediocrity doesn't just climb, it multiplies. Once incompetence reaches power, it builds a fortress. And that fortress is made of people even less competent. Sound familiar? A weak manager who hires yes men. A corrupt politician who surrounds himself with flatterers. A clueless CEO who stacks their team with loyal puppets instead of sharp minds. Why? Because real talent is threatening. Real skill exposes weakness. So to protect their ego and their throne, these leaders make a choice. Loyalty over merit, silence over truth. Machiavelli nailed this when he wrote, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." Translation? If the top is rotten, check the branches. Incompetent leaders don't just tolerate mediocrity, they engineer it. This is how entire organizations, governments, and teams turn into echo chambers of incompetence. Question something? You're not a team player. Bring a better idea? You're trying too hard. Over time, everyone learns the same rule: don't outshine the boss. And just like that, the system collapses into a self-sustaining black hole of stupidity. But here's the killer twist. This environment doesn't just reward incompetence, it punishes excellence. If you've ever been told to tone it down, be more agreeable, or let it go, you've tasted this sickness, and it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to decide what you do next. Because here's the truth. If you stay in a room that punishes your value, that room will reshape you. Slowly, quietly, until one day you stop showing up as your full self and start surviving as a smaller version. Don't shrink to fit the network. Get strong enough to break it. Let's be honest. Most people don't want the truth. They want certainty, even if it's fake, even if it's dangerous. That's why the loudest, most clueless voices often rise, not despite their oversimplified answers, but because of them. We're wired for clarity. Our brains crave closure. So when life gets chaotic and someone stands up and says, "Relax, I've got the answer," people follow. Doesn't matter if it's a lie. Doesn't matter if the truth is way more complex. We're hungry for direction, and certainty is a hell of a drug. This is how thoughtless people win. They weaponize simplicity. They take messy, multidimensional problems and slice them into black and white slogans. Just do this. Only I can fix it. They're the problem. And the crowd eats it up. Because in a world that feels like it's spinning out of control, anyone who sounds sure feels safe. But here's the trap. Real intelligence doesn't scream. It hesitates. It sees complexity, nuance, contradictions. It says things like, "It depends," and "we need to think through this." And in the court of public opinion, that sounds weak, indecisive, boring. So the wise get silenced, the reflective get drowned out, and the simplistic rise, not because they're right, but because they're easier to digest. It's terrifying. And it's happening everywhere. Politics, business, social media. Look around. People aren't rewarded for depth. They're rewarded for certainty, even when it's toxic. You feel that frustration, right? You know things aren't that simple, but the world around you keeps choosing shortcuts over substance. So here's the challenge. Resist the seduction. Don't trade your complexity for applause. Speak truth, even when it's messy. And learn to package wisdom without dumbing it down. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs clarity with soul. Let's cut the crap. Being a good person doesn't guarantee a damn thing in the game of power. In fact, it might be the very thing holding you back. Sound harsh? It is, but it's real. Here's the thing about truly intelligent, self-aware people. They think before acting. They ask, is this right? Who might get hurt? What are the consequences? And while they're reflecting, someone else is already pulling the trigger, making the move, taking the deal, playing dirty, without blinking. Machiavelli wasn't evil when he said a prince must learn how not to be good. He was just honest. He understood something most people don't want to admit. In high-stakes environments, ethics can be a liability because they slow you down, they limit your options, they put invisible boundaries where others see opportunity. Now, imagine two people in the same race. One follows the rules, the other cheats, cuts corners, manipulates the judges, and smiles while doing it. Who wins? This is the brutal paradox. The more principled you are, the fewer weapons you allow yourself to use. Meanwhile, your competition is using every dirty trick in the book, smiling, charming, and stepping on necks while claiming it's just business. And that's why we see smart, ethical people burn out, while narcissists climb. Why honest candidates lose elections, while manipulators dominate the headlines. Why, in your own workplace, the most ruthless ones seem untouchable. So what's the answer? Become a villain? Number. But stop expecting integrity alone to carry you. You need strategy, you need boundaries, but you also need bite. Because if you're going to play the game with a moral compass, fine, but sharpen the damn thing. Make it a sword, not a leash. You've seen the pattern. Incompetence rising, confidence faking it, ethics losing ground. And maybe you're asking, so what the hell can I do? Here's the hard truth. You alone won't fix the system, but you can stop being food for it. You can start by redesigning your inner game, because before we build smarter systems out there, we need sharper minds in here. Minds that don't fall for volume over value, presence over substance, charm over truth. First, protect your attention like it's gold, because it is. Every headline, every hot take, every attention-hungry fraud, they feed on your distraction. If you're always reacting, you're never building. So shut down the noise, curate your inputs, create mental space so you can think again. Really think. Second, stop waiting to be picked. Pick yourself. Power doesn't come from permission. It comes from clarity, from knowing what you stand for and building skills that can't be ignored. Become so competent, so grounded, so real that even if the frauds talk louder, they can't replace you. Third, find others who value depth, not echo chambers, diverse minds, people who challenge you, sharpen you, and refuse to settle, because environments matter. And if you stay surrounded by mediocrity, you start adapting to survive instead of growing to lead. Now zoom out. Systems thrive on patterns. Break them. At work, speak truth, even when it's uncomfortable. In your team, reward insight, not volume. In your circle, celebrate integrity, not image. That's how culture shifts, one friction point at a time. And finally, never forget, intelligence without moral courage stays quiet, and quiet doesn't change the world. So build your clarity, sharpen your conviction, speak with weight. Because yes, the thoughtless may rise fast, but when the thoughtful finally rise, they build something that lasts. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe button.